My second course material that I decided to analyze was my geometry syllabus. Our school has it's called V3. All of our online classes are considered V3 classes for virtual. I'm not really sure where the three came from, but we just call them V3. So this is my online geometry syllabus. So as I was kind of looking at this, some things that I did take notice of when I was looking at the online accessibility handbook. I probably should have a second heading here. So this would be like my main title. The V3 geometry syllabus would be like my main title or my main heading. And then I should have a subheading right here that says my contact information, which just has my name, my room in the high school, where I'm located in case some of them have it as an after school class, some of them have it just they're full online students. So if they come into the high school, they would know where to find me, my email, and then my phone number and with my extension. So I probably should have contact info up here as a second heading. And then for the syllabus, I always throw in the philosophy in the course description, which is just directly from our student course selection sheet. So that's kind of what they get as a description for the course in the philosophy. So when they're deciding what courses to take, that just kind of shows up. It tells you what we do in geometry. So those could be like another section of subheadings. And as I was going through it, I figured maybe I shouldn't have these subheadings in the same font and in the same kind of style as the main heading. It is a little bit smaller font than the title of the whole document, but it's still kind of similar, so it could confuse some students, especially students that could be visually impaired because they may not know that it's a different size font and they may just think it's like something different rather than just a different topic. And then the same idea for the course topics. As I was going through some of the examples and whatnot of things, of what it could look like, they had a table chart. So I figured instead of just listing out all of the different chapters, and when we kind of go through them and everything like that, I figured that I could instead have like little subsections of everything and put like a chart in there that says, we're gonna do this chapter for these couple of weeks and this chapter for this couple of weeks, and maybe kind of outline what we do in those chapters and not just kind of list their title. So that's something that I can always do. I usually plan out my online course for the year beforehand, and sometimes I have to make some minor adjustments, but I try to kind of keep up with keeping that consistent, especially because snow days and everything like that doesn't really affect the online course, so they can kind of go through at their own pace throughout the week. It doesn't matter if we have a snow day, so I kind of just try to map that out ahead of time. And then I go into how their grade is calculated. So for their grade, I could definitely have different ways to describe the different grade components. So the screencast, assignment test, there's quizzes down there, and the final exam. Excuse me. But I figured that I can also add in a pie chart into here. So a pie chart that would kind of show them the percentages that way instead of just saying it's worth 10% of your grade or it's worth 25% of your grade. I could kind of show them the chart, and that would kind of show them what's worth more points and whatnot in the syllabus rather than just having that. And I figured that I could always color code it, so I can make screencasts, one color, assignments, another color. And I can always color code that to our Schoology program as well, so that way they kind of have an idea of what everything is and they can relate it back to the syllabus and what color was the biggest chunk of the pie chart to see where most of their grade actually comes from. I do have kind of additional notes in here about specific due dates, and I do kind of post about the due dates on Schoology as well, but this way they're aware of due dates and because I'm very strict with my due dates, that way they kind of are aware of when they can occur, and I kind of bolded them, but maybe I could also italicize them or something along those lines to kind of make it stand out a little bit more than just bolding it. And the expectations and instructions, they're just kind of what I expect out of my students, and like specific instructions for if you need to find anything on Schoology and stuff like that. So that's just kind of an addition that I kind of added on to there, so that way students know what to expect of the course and everything like that. So I am going to kind of analyze this as a Word document because I did create it in Microsoft Word. So I'm going to go to the accessibility handbook. So the anatomy of an accessible page is actually what kind of drew my attention to my syllabus and whatnot. I probably could also add in the whole grading scale system, so where it talks about all of the way that what you get, like just Northern Lebanon's standard grading scale and stuff. I could probably add that into there, but I really got the idea of color coding things and whatnot from here, and all the different headings that you can add onto it as well. And then comparing it to the accessible Word documents, like I said, there I could add more headings into there to kind of make it flow a little bit easier, so you can kind of see where the headings kind of correlate to. Images, I don't really have any images on there right now, but if I did add that pie chart in there, that would be an image. So, and I would make a description with it saying that this is where your grade is kind of calculated from. As far as lists, I do have a couple of the bulleted lists based on where their grade comes from, and then also my expectations and instruction section. So there are some different lists that are there. I don't currently have any links on there, but maybe I could add a link to the page on Schoology for students, even though they kind of have to go to Schoology to access the syllabus. I'm not really sure if I would need to add any links onto there. And then I do teach math, but syllabus didn't really need any like math equations or anything, so I did not need to include that essentially in my syllabus. And for the tables, I mentioned that I could add the table kind of outlining what month and the pace that we're kind of going to go out for every chapter, so the students just kind of have a heads up a little bit more about that. And I can probably also add that into my syllabus for my face-to-face students as well. I'm sure that they would also kind of appreciate that, especially because we do proofs in geometry, and most students just can't wait until proofs are over. Even though I like proofs, they usually don't. With the color contrast, like I said, I could definitely color code, like my grading and maybe some other things on there, and whatnot. And then I don't really have any forms on there either. I don't think I would really need to add any forms onto my syllabus, but it could always be an option if anybody had any suggestions for how I could add that onto there. And then you compare it to the UDL guidelines. So it's not really a lesson, it's more just a syllabus. So I think it's kind of more along the lines of the sustaining effort and persistence. So it says that it heightens salience of goals and objectives. So I definitely kind of talk about what the goals and objectives for the class are and everything like that in the syllabus. And then for self-regulation, it also promotes expectations and beliefs for motivation and whatnot. So I kind of just talk about my expectations for the class as well, and what I expect of my students in order for them to get the best grade that they can. My main focus would just kind of be reorienting that for it to be more accessible for the different types of learners. I also do have a screencast of my syllabus up on Schoology as well. So I don't just post the syllabus and have the students read it. I also have them, the first assignment is to watch the screencast of the syllabus, so they kind of listen to my whole instructions on what the syllabus says. So going through the syllabus in a verbal way, I think also helps students that have visual impairments as well, or if you have a hearing impairment, you're also just capable of reading the syllabus. So I do kind of give the syllabus in two different ways as well, so that students can access it differently. So that could also kind of fall into multiple means for communication, with the expression and communication over there on the right hand side with the blue. So that's just kind of a couple of the things that I do in my syllabus and what I kind of do in my course.